Good morning, everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne. My name is Deborah Byrne from DBpsychology Service, known across social media as DBpsychology. So this week's blog was all about substance abuse with teens. I have other blogs up there relating to adults, which goes into different forms of addiction with regards to alcohol, and drugs. So you can check those out. They are individual ones, and also just to say that a 4-part series which goes into much more depth with regard to teens and raising teens and how you can help your teens. So this morning, let's talk about substance abuse. Substance abuse. When I talk about substance abuse, I talk about any abuse that you can become addicted to. So that includes your usual drugs, alcohol, gambling, eating, eating disorders. We would talk about there. We would also, and just to say, there are blogs on specifically for parents of teens on eating disorders, so you can check those out. Also, I would include in that social media and gaming, because your teen's brain is developing, and it develops right up until about 25, 26. And the earlier a child, okay, and they are children, take to these things, and they are very addictive. We know they're very addictive. We know social media is very addictive. We know gaming is very addictive. They want the children using them as early and as soon as possible, because they are highly addictive. So, you've got to think, what is my child doing? What is my child using? What is my child being open to? What doorways does that then lead to? But then, as parents, we've got to decide how much are we going to let them game, how much are we going to allow them, and how soon are we going to allow them on social media. So that's my tuppence worth on the social media and the gaming. But going back to what we would consider, if you like, the mainstream substance abuse. With teens, they're going to push the boundaries. Okay, that's their job. Their job is to leave home eventually. Okay, it is to become independent in adults, and in order to do that, it's a bit like, if you think of the butterfly coming out of the cocoon and it becomes this butterfly. Well, it's that pushing stage. That pushing stage to be born. Pushing stage to be born as an adult, to push out, to push against you, to push against all the social norms, and to try and do it. Some kids will do it more than other kids, but they'll all try it. So know the difference between experimenting and substance abuse, and I go into that in the blog. And just a heads up, the blog is very long this week, but I wanted to give you as much information as possible. Understand the variety of substances that they may abuse. There is a long list, and it's no way all inclusive. There are other stuff that they can do. Mostly it's around alcohol and drugs. The causes, we know that the causes of why they may become addicted, why anybody might become addicted, is because of genetics, environmental stressors, peer pressure, their personality, and there's a whole lot of other causes there that I've listed out as well. And the signs, the consequences, and the treatment I've also listed. I don't want to focus on those this morning. You can read them yourself. There's about 16 signs there. And a lot of the signs, as I said in the blog, and I did right beside each sign, I said, well, this could also mean this. Because with teens, a lot of the stuff that you'll see listed as signs of substance abuse can easily be written off as being a teen for some other reason. But never let them go, because they could be indicators of, if they're not substance abuse, it could be mental health disorder, it could be something else. You don't know. So you have to know your child. You have to trust your gut instinct. You have to be a detective. I'm always saying that with kids, always be a detective. Think about it. So if you at any stage think your child has become addicted to some sort of substance, don't be afraid to search their room. A lot of parents are going to go nuts when they hear me saying this, but go and search their room. Wait until they go to school, go back to the house and search their room. Don't be afraid to do that. And don't be afraid to do that on more than one occasion. And think outside the box. It may not be in their room. So you might have to check the other kids' rooms. They might have hidden it in some other place. So check around the house and see. The other thing I would say to you is, if you do suspect, and you very strongly suspect, that a teen is abusing substance, your first protocol is the GP. Be prepared. Go to your GP and have a chat first with them before you confront a teen about any sort of abuse. You're probably going to get one good go at this, and you need a good intervention program, and you need to know where you need to go to help. You know what you need to do to get help. So talking to your GP, and being honest with them, saying, look, I think we have a problem. Before I bring them in to see you, or I mightn't even be able to get them to bring you them in to see you, what can I do? And they'll be able to tell you, and they'll be able to give you the contact numbers and be able to, get you the people that you need to talk to. So if it's a case of they may not go and talk to the GP, they may not go to A&E, they may not go to where they need to go to get the intervention, you then need to talk to somebody who, if you're going to do an intervention, have all that lined up before you actually confront the teen. That would be my best advice to you, is have all your interventions, have everything lined up, ready to go. So if it's a treatment program you need, have it lined up, ready to go, that you immediately get them in the car and you bring them there. That's the worst case scenario. What we're going to talk about this morning really is to talk to them and to do a bit of prevention. Okay, we want to do a bit of prevention here. We want to, it'll be a very small percentage that'll actually go on from experimenting to abusing. So how can we do that? Communication is always key, and trusting your gut instinct, as I said, and doing a little bit of detective work. So in communication, talking to them, it's never too early to talk to a teen. So even, you're going to have to judge this yourself, but around the age of, I suppose, 12, around then you can start doing this. You might want to do it as early as 10. It depends. It depends on what's going on in your life. It depends on what's going on in their environment. It depends. You have to judge it yourself, because if you already have substance abuse in your home, if you are married to an alcoholic or something, they're probably by the age 10, they're very clued in. They're very clued into addiction, probably a lot more than you realise. So, or if there's a grandparent, or if there's an uncle or somebody in the family already has an addiction of some form, they're going to be clued in. They're going to be listening, even though you don't think they are. So, you've got to judge it yourself as to when you're going to start. But if there isn't any of that in your home, then around the age of 12, maybe just as they're going to secondary school, is a good time. You can also use, using age-appropriate language, but also use the media that's there that you have. So you have TV shows that'll bring up substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, whatever. They're going to bring it up, eating disorders, things like that. They're going to bring this up. Movies will also do that. Awareness, there's always some form of awareness going on in the schools that week, or in preparation for that week, is a great time to bring the subject up in the home. Use that. But before all that, what I would suggest to you is, before you even go and talking to your teen, get informed. Have the right information, and I've linked it out. I've linked out to the organisations that have all that information for you, and have very good information, that you'll know the names of the different types of drugs. You'll know the different, how they can affect somebody. So get the right information. Don't lecture them. Don't sit here and go back and forward. It's a conversation. It's a conversation that should include your partner, if there is one in the home. It should include, other family members, if that's what you want. And the message is awareness. It's to be that they're aware. Understand as well what they're watching. So if they're watching, or what they're listening to, so what are they watching on television? What messages are they getting from the songs that they're listening to? Some messages aren't that that good. So you have to be able to counteract that. You have to be able to explain to them that no, this isn't how this isn't normal behavior. This isn't as popular as you think it is. There's a lot of music. I'm not going to name a particular genre, but because that's unfair. But there is music out there that is, can glamorize how you treat a person, but it also glamorizes drinking. It also glamorizes taking drugs. So you've got to be able to counteract that, and you have to have the right information. And why I say you have to have the right information is they're going to be very clued in. They really are. They're going to be very clued in, and much more than you think they are. They're going to be hearing things from their friends, and that isn't always right. That information isn't always correct. So you need to be able to correct that and say, no, look, this is, and show them the correct information if you need to. As I said, discuss the different substances, and that might mean that you discuss them at different times. So you might discuss alcohol at one stage, and then you might talk about drugs another night, and do it can't be a one-off. It has to be, awareness has to be a continual thing. They pick up, the information on instantly. So it needs to be a continual discussion. When you see something on television, when you see something in a movie, when you see, when they're listening to a particular song, it comes up in school, whenever, you need to be, using every opportunity you can without drumming it into their heads. Use your common sense here to talk about it down the years. You're talking about down the years. And of course, you're going to go into more detail the older they get. I would suggest also, in terms of peer pressure, to have brainstorming with them, listen to them. They will often come up with better brainstorming ideas on how to resist peer pressure or how to handle their friends better than you will. So listen to what they have to say. And if you need to rehearse a scenario where they know that maybe they're going to be put under a little bit of pressure if they go to such and such an event, if they go to the local disco. I'm probably giving away my age there, but if they're going to an event and they think, oh, there's going to be alcohol or maybe drugs there, how can they resist that? So rehearse with them. Use that as a rehearsal. Use the conversation to resist peer pressure as a rehearsal of how they can say no to their friends. Have an excuse, or have a if they slipped off to the bathroom or something, and then give you a call, and then you can call them back like 2 minutes later, and they're out in the middle of the party with the friends, and they say, oh, she wants me to come home, and they can give out about you. They can give out hell about you. Oh, I have to go now. They can use it as an excuse. Have a signal that they can use. So in the conversations that you're going to have, there's two things you need to be aware of. Be ready to talk about your own teen life. Be ready to talk about if you did try and experiment yourself, and be honest. Be absolutely honest about that with them. They'll know if you're lying. They do. They just will, and you have to be honest. And they'll ask Granny. They will. They come and say, they'll always come and ask, grandparents, what was my dad or what was my mum like when they were growing up? What were they like as teens? And grandparents will be a bit more honest. So be prepared to be honest about what you did yourself as a teen. And the other thing is very, very key. It's as key as, keeping that line of communication open, is how you react if they say they have experimented. You have to be prepared to know how you're going to react. Be prepared for that. That if they do sit there and they admit they have tried alcohol, or if they've tried a particular drug, you have to be prepared to react appropriately and not lose the head. Don't lose the head. Don't lose the cool. Be aware that this could come up, and be ready for it. Be basically ready for it, that you're not going to flip out and lose the head, because you're going to shut down all lines of communication if you do lose the head with them. Bit of prevention would be definitely getting to know the teens, getting to know their friends, getting to know their friends' families. That is I think more important. Making sure that you encourage the friends to come over. It's only for a few years. You give up your sitting room, you give up your kitchen, your dining room table, whatever. Invite them over. You're going to have a bunch of kids, a bunch of lads, a bunch of girls there. Just prepare to do that for a few years. It doesn't last forever, and you can be floating around and you become, it's like doing the school run. You become part of the car, you become part of the wallpaper, and the kids don't realize that you're really there anymore when they get used to it, and you hear things. And as I've said before, when you can hear things, you know what's going on. You're more clued in. House rules, as I've said before, with regards to teens should be helping you make the house rules, and they're very good at coming up with better consequences than you are. But also, with regards to substance abuse, make sure that they know that house rules apply outside the home. So part of house rules is you never get in a car if somebody is drunk or on drugs with that person. If they're driving, you don't do that. You don't get into a car with somebody who's drunk. You have to, make sure that they understand that the consequences apply to their behaviour outside of home as it does inside a home. And those rules that you have are laid down. They're very clear about what happens if they do this. Prevention also is always about self-esteem, always about boosting their self-confidence, and them understanding that you have healthy expectations of them. We put our teens under far too much pressure, particularly if it comes up to, leaving cert, and we need to be setting healthy expectations. So we need them to know that we have healthy expectations of them. Celebrating all the small successes. It doesn't have to be a grand party every time, but a well done and congratulations can go a long way, to helping to boost their self-confidence. In that way, you're going to be helping prevention. So think about all the small ways in which you can, even if you can't get to the game, even if you can't get to every event that they're involved in, maybe have somebody else record it for you and that you sit and watch it then later together. Always congratulate them, ask them how they have gotten on at that particular, whatever it was. That let them know that you're there for them. Let them know that you love them, and let them know that you're their biggest supporter. Is always going to be the biggest part of prevention that you can implement. So I'm going to leave it there this morning. Hello, Deirdre. Hi, thank you for watching as always. And Colette and Kim and Jennifer as well, as always, are always watching every week. And to everybody else, I leave it there and thank you for watching. And I will see you again next Saturday morning. And of course, there's a new blog coming out on Monday morning.